Part 77. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 761. With the completion of the evolution of the Insect King, the physical attributes of Xiaoming's three bodies have risen by several levels. The overall strength has also been improved. The upper limits of various supernatural energies have been significantly increased. Telekinesis, spiritual power, force, mental power, magic power, domineering, chakra, and microcosm have all improved to varying degrees. The abilities that have been improved the most are those that are closely related to physical attributes. For example, telekinesis, chakra, microcosm, etc. Like mental power and magic power, which are not closely related to the body, the growth is relatively limited. And spiritual power, force, and domineering are between the two. There is some improvement, but not much. Of course, this does not have much impact on Xiaoming's combat effectiveness. With the triple source energy, these energies are originally inexhaustible. Now they are still inexhaustible. Some abilities will be directly affected by this evolution. For example, the shadow clone technique is the most obvious example. After the physical fitness is enhanced, Xiaoming's shadow clones are collectively upgraded. The shadow clone originally uses chakra to simulate its own attributes. Since the simulation is not comprehensive, the shadow clone is much weaker than the original one. In the past, the shadow clone summoned by Xiaoming only had physical properties of level 3 or 4, but now it is definitely level 5. The combat power is stronger than that of the general C-level reincarnation. It is probably at the level of Elite Chunin in Naruto. Occasionally, it bursts out and uses skills such as Raise Non to obtain B-level attack power for a short time. The physical properties of the 7 stars shadow clone have also risen, and now it has reached the level of intermediate level 6. Usually it is a B-level reincarnation, which is equivalent to an ordinary Jonin. It is no problem to be an elite Jonin by exerting abilities other than various ninjutsu, such as alchemy, the 6 styles of the navy, haki, etc. Counting the bonus and special effects of the Mangekyo Sharinan, it can be considered a half-cage level strongman. It's just not very durable, which is a common problem of clones. The number of clones has not increased much. After all, the strength of each shadow clone has become stronger, and the consumption of chakra has also increased. So now Xiaoming can easily maintain 87 stars shadow clones and more than 300 ordinary shadow clones at the same time. It took Xiaoming a lot of time and energy to replenish the Zanpakuto for the 7 stars shadow clones. If Xiaoming is pushed to the limit and uses all his strength, maybe the number of ordinary shadow clones can be doubled. But that will be a burden for Xiaoming, so he should take it easy at ordinary times. In addition, the upper limit and potential of Xiaoming's telekinesis have jumped up by 2 steps. Xiaoming can choose to use the potential to develop new telekinesis beasts, or choose to use it to strengthen the original abilities. Among the telekinesis beasts, Xiaoming's favorite is the eye-catching uniform series. The combat power of the Beast Girl series is also good. Since the uniform can be worn on the shadow clone, the combat power of the uniform itself is not important. Just use their special abilities. Among them, there are only a few telekinesis beasts that Xiaoming has specially strengthened, adding a few skill points. The first one is the butler uniform. It is directly related to the size of Guangmingding. Although 5000 m is not small at present, Xiaoming still can't help but continue to strengthen it. The space of Guangmingding was expanded to 6000 cubic meters. It seems that the change is not big. Xiaoming is a little depressed that it did not meet expectations. Another space, Kunlun, is of a relatively high level and is not affected by Xiaoming's evolution at all. It firmly follows its own growth rate, expanding slowly and steadily day by day. Now it is only about 770 m. Without swallowing high-level treasures, its growth is almost at turtle's speed. The second one to be strengthened is the queen of the Chimera alien Xiaohe. Because she has the genes of Chimera ants and aliens in her body. It is relatively barbaric and primitive. Xiaoming is worried that once Xiaohe is given an independent soul, she may lose control. So he has not yet awakened her spirit. Just treat her as one of his own clones and use it when needed. Xiaohe can give birth to alien warriors, and alien warriors can be transformed into alien King Kong. Even if the number is limited, the combat effectiveness is indeed good. Xiaoming thinks they are quite useful. Xiaohe's body is only of the 4th level primary quality. Without various supernatural energy bonuses, his combat power is a bit miserable. Last time in the Battle of Dongguodo, Xiaohe got a bargain. After the Catwoman Neferpitou was killed by Xiaoja, the body was absorbed by Xiaohe and Zhang Zhong together. This is very helpful for Xiaohe's growth. After Xiaoming evolved, he increased his potential investment in Xiaohe. Xiaohe's physical attributes also jumped to the 5th level intermediate. Although his strength is still limited, he will not drag his children down. Otherwise, a special force would have to be sent to protect Xiaohe. The third and most important one is that Xiaoming's imitation of the spaceship was finally successful. Facing the spaceship materialized by telekinesis, Xiaoming enlightened it into a sea-level transformer, with combat power comparable to Zhanghong, but much more useful. He can turn into a spaceship, carrying Xiaoming's family old and young, and fly into the vast universe. This is an insurance. So Xiaoming named the new transformer mind beast Zhang Ren, the name imitated Cao Ren. After Zhang Ren was born, Xiaoming immediately planted a superpower seed in him and gained mind power. Xiaoming hoped that he could be self-sufficient in mind power like Zhang Hong, and not continue to consume Xiaoming's mind power. The best thing is that he can give back some. At least now Zhang Hong has been able to give back to Xiaoming. Zhang Ren could only be materialized successfully by telekinesis now. Xiaoming deeply suspected that it was related to his own evolution. Before, there might not be much potential left in telekinesis. That's why it was so difficult to materialize a spaceship. Knowing that after his evolution, his potential increased greatly, he was able to solve the problem. I don't know how much potential of telekinesis is left now. Is it enough? On second thought, there is no machine that I particularly want to simulate for the time being. I won't develop new telekinetic beasts for now. I'll talk about it after Zhang Ren has cultivated his telekinesis well. Whether it is Zhang Ren, Zhang Hong, or the 13 alien Kong children, Xiaoming did not let them meet the Ant King or the 2 guards. In addition, Xiaoming tried not to show his various supernatural energies in front of the Chimera ants. The Chimera ants are already so powerful just by telekinesis. Now that they have come to the spiritual world of the devil, it is only a matter of time before they learn demon power or spiritual power. With Miru M's talent, the strength of him and the 2 guards will definitely be greatly improved. Although we are allies, it is good for Xiaoming if the Chimera ants become stronger. However, the Chimera ants' attitude towards humans still needs to be taken into consideration. Otherwise, Xiaoming wouldn't have to go to such great lengths to migrate them to a new world. Therefore, Xiaoming doesn't plan to let the Ant King gain more abilities. If this guy learns the microcosm, ninjutsu, etc., there will be no solution. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 762. Soon, Huang Xiaoming left the Chimera ant's nest. Because his eggs of insect humans transformed from Chimera ant eggs are already showing signs of hatching. Although the relationship between Xiaoming and MaleProtagonist's families is good, it is not as close as one family. Xiaoming can't build the insect-human nest together with the Chimera ants, right? Then there will be trouble in the future. In fact, Xiaoming doesn't even plan to place the Chimera ant's nest in this demonic plane. Let Miru M and the others have fun here. While the Insect King and Ant King traveled together, They also discovered several passages connecting other planes. The Insect King sent shadow clones one by one to check. There are two planes with extremely harsh environments that are not suitable for human survival at all. Even the weaker monsters might not be able to survive. Wheat's current physical condition is definitely unbearable. The other three planes seem to be pretty good. The Ant King remembered the location and planned to go to the next plane after having enough fun in this plane. The moment did not pass immediately, causing the accompanying clones of Yuppie and Pufu to let out a sigh of relief. They definitely don't want the Ant King to go that far. The idea of the two guards is that they can just wander around in their own plane and go to other planes. What if the passage is closed midway? If you really want to play, it's not too late to go there after we Chimera ants unify this plane or take the dominant position. By then, it will no longer be just a few people traveling there, but at least a large army will have to be brought there. This can make people feel at ease. Facing the complex demon world, Xiao Ming had to admire Xiao Yapfu's ability. His clone can ensure the smooth flow of the internal command system of the Chimera ants. No matter how many planes the Chimera ants conquer, no matter which plane the Ant King goes to, Pufu can basically guarantee that there will be at least one clone to lead each plane. This ability can be compared to Xiao Ming, who has multiple shadow clones. It's just that the shadow clones that Xiao Ming can send out are very limited. There are not many powerful 7-yam shadow clones, so they are not as convenient as the ability of Lord of Flies. Among the three available demonic planes, Xiao Ming carefully selected one. This is also a huge solid planet. The concentration of spiritual energy is higher. The information obtained by scanning the map shows that the maximum strength of this sleepless monster does not exceed a level, and there are only 3 or 5 of them. There are about 50 or 60 B-level masters, C-level masters are more concentrated. The overall strength is higher than the first demon plane. At the same time, if it is beyond Xiao Ming's control, it can be regarded as an ideal base. Xiao Ming chose a huge mountain range as his base. This will be the homeland of both humans and bugs. We all know that because of alchemy, Xiao Ming has the most home field advantage in underground caves with complex structures. So he first occupied a large mountain deep in the mountains. There used to be 2 B-level guys fighting here for a long time. Their strength was evenly matched, and neither one could defeat the other. But there was always a fight every once in a while. One of them is a canine-like monster, the other is a humanoid monster with long ears and a tail. When Xiao Ming arrived, the two brothers had actually been fighting for 3 days and 2 nights, and there was still no winner. Looking at this situation, I'm afraid it will take another 2 days of fighting before they are exhausted and everyone goes back to their homes. Both of them are living beings with independent souls. Looking at life energy, it is impossible to tell what is good or evil. Anyway, they have no connection with the word bad guy. Individuals living alone in the wild are often of this type. Thinking that it was not easy for them to practice till now, Xiao Ming did not take action directly, and he was polite first and then attacked. A-level Zhang Zhong appeared and shot an arrow at each of the two. It was very powerful, but it was deliberately not aimed. Regardless of whether they were monsters or monsters, they were all frightened by Zhang Zhong's aura. The big dog ran away without saying a word. Instead, the monster bowed his hand to Zhang Zhong, thanked him for not killing him, and then turned around and left. Seeing no one to turn to, Xiao Ming couldn't help but wonder, is his character so bad? When the A-level personal guards took action, none of them bowed down and called them Big Brother. Where did our domineering spirit go? Oh, by the way, Xiao Ming can only see the domineering colors of Wen color and armed color, but not Ba Wang color at all. Where does the domineering spirit come from? It's good if you can scare people away. At least the territory was taken down. Xiao Ming used alchemy to shape the caves inside the mountain, which were not particularly developed, into huge and complex underground structures. Deep in the core of the cave, 2 melon tree seeds were planted. There are still 2 seeds of Pandora's sacred tree left that have not been planted. Even though both of these 2 giant trees can be planted in Kunlun, that's because Kunlun's unique conditions allow these 2 kinds of trees to grow even without soil. However, the situation in the demon world is different. The environment of Pandora's planet is quite special. This demonic plane does not meet the conditions for the growth of holy trees. It is enough to grow melon trees. 500 insect-human eggs were hung on the sacred tree. It is said to be on a tree, but in fact it is still underground, and the eggs are hung at the roots of the sacred tree. Although the holy tree has not fully grown yet, the root alone is already tens of meters tall, long, and over time, it will become even larger. The holy tree absorbs nutrients from the demon world through its roots. As it grows, it can also provide nutrients for insect eggs. This group of insect humans should be more powerful than those chimeric ants of the same origin. After that, Huang Xiaoming stayed here to manage the base, and the insect humans were hatched one after another. 2-3 level insect soldiers, 4 level insect lieutenants, 5 level insect officers, until number 1000 appeared again. The demon realm is Xiaoming's private world. The number of insect humans here is counted including the insect humans in the Chu galaxy. In order to better manage the increasing number of insects, the insect king Lu Xiaoming gave birth to hundreds of insect humans in the Chu galaxy. Only then did the number 1000 appear this time. According to the rules of the insect humans, the number 1000 will also be an A-level master and a 7th level guard. If the eggs of the chimera ants are used at this time, it may affect the strength of the new guards because of the poor foundation. So Lu Xiaoming made a special trip here and gave birth to an egg of the insect human. The hatching speed of the eggs of the insect human is much faster than that of the chimera ant eggs. A few hours later, Xiaoming had another 7th level master under his command, and the 2 guards could finally take turns. It was a coincidence, or as it should be, that the new guard turned out to be the Catwoman, Neferpitou. As expected of one of the 3 guards of the chimera ant, her genes are awesome. Her remains were eaten by Zhang Zhong and Xiao He, and the insect king was still evolving, and did not have a tail. But the genetic information still forcefully entered the gene pool of the insect king. And she was reincarnated in the insect human race. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 763. After rebirth, Nephibit basically retained his previous appearance and abilities, and also inherited some characteristics of insect humans. The carapace on the outside of the body becomes more and thicker, the tip of the tail also has a sharp straw, which is the symbol of insect humans. In addition, Catwoman also gained 2 new energy systems, spiritual power and small universe. Have your own insect cloak. His strength is a bit or 2 stronger than when he was a chimera ant. And she also retains most of her previous memories. Of course, as a personal guard of the insect humans, Nephibit's loyalty must be dedicated to Xiaoming. To be precise, he is loyal to the insect king Lu Xiaoming. Ant King Miru M is a thing of the past. He was just a master who had sacrificed his life to serve him in his previous life. She was completely worthy of Miru M in her last life, and she will definitely be worthy of Xiaoming in this life. Catwoman still remembers that her name is Nephibit, so there is no need for Xiaoming to change her name. Is it still called Zhangfibit? It doesn't sound good either. However, in order not to cause any misunderstandings in the future, Xiaoming used Kunlun to teleport the newborn Nephibit to Lu Xiaoming. I met the Ant King, Xiaomei, Yuppie, and Pufu's clones, and some things needed to be said clearly face to face. Bit. You're still alive. Great. Asterisk 3. The Ant King and the 2 guards said 3 identical sentences in unison. Later, Miru M and others discovered that Catwoman had some changes from her previous appearance. The main thing is that it feels different. Bit, you don't seem to be a chimera ant now. Yuppie was quite confused. Alyapufa suddenly had a clear idea. Oh, I understand, Bit, you are reincarnated into the insect human that Mr. Zhang mentioned before, right? It is indeed very similar to our clan. Meow, Pufu, you are still smart. Meow. Catwoman praised Butterfly Man, then bowed to the Ant King. Lord Miru M, it was my honor to follow you and be loyal to you in my last life. You are a great king cat. Now that I have been reincarnated as an insect human cat, I will swear allegiance to Mr. Xiaoming from now on. Meow. Miru M blushed a little after hearing Bit's previous compliment. Everything he had done before was criticized by Xiaoming. As the king of his clan, he felt that he was too naive and too arrogant. He failed to fulfill his responsibilities as a king. He even thought about it, except for the big boss Yuppie. No matter whether Catwoman or Poof becomes the king, they will do much better than themselves. How can it lead to the disaster of genocide? Fortunately, both Yuppie and Pufu are still alive today. Therefore, Miru M always felt extremely sorry for Nephibit who died in the battle. Seeing Neferbit reincarnated, Miru M's first reaction was relief. A huge burden was lifted from my heart. As for the fact that Catwoman said she would no longer be loyal to him later, it was not within the scope of the Ant King's consideration at all. He felt that it was much better for Bit to follow Xiaoming than to follow him, and he was happy for his former subordinate. Yuppie and Pufu were a little confused. They really wanted to work with Nephibit again. They didn't say anything about Catwoman as a companion, but they cared about her very much in their hearts. It was a good thing that Nephibit was resurrected, but from now on they would have to be their own masters, which made them uncomfortable. But there was nothing we could do. As chimera ants, they can best understand the hierarchy within the insect-human race. According to the current situation, the relationship between insect humans and chimera ants is getting closer and closer. Catwoman's rebirth as a bug human made the relationship between the two families even closer. It's really hard to fall out in the future. As a strategist, Alyapov once secretly thought about this possibility. He even wanted to annex the insect humans, a group that seemed to have great potential, into the chimera ant group. And we have already started making various plans. As a result, the birth of Catwoman completely changed the situation. I'm afraid it will be difficult to start in the future. Oh, forget it, just keep the insect humans. It has to be said that Puff's ambition is always the greatest. Moreover, he seriously underestimated Zhang Xiaoming's strength. Even if Catwoman is not born, when he sees the Zerg army, he will know what the real cosmic race is. What a difference! The Zerg race is by no means comparable to a young race like the Chimera ants. Master Bit, thank you for saving my life. Otherwise, I would have died a long time ago, Weavua. Just as Puff was thinking wildly, Little Miss Wheat came up to Catwoman and cried to thank her for saving her life. Now that Xiaomei knows the whole story, the person he loves most is still Miru M, but the person he is most grateful to is Catwoman. Especially after learning that he, as a hostage, was used to threaten Catwoman, and Catwoman died as a result. She couldn't help but suffer from survivor syndrome. The feeling of guilt has always lingered in the heart of this kind little girl. Nephibit came to life again, which made Xiaomei feel much better. Holding Catwoman and crying. That feeling makes people feel that it is a bit deeper than that of Yuppie and Pufu. Miru M and the two guards were confused. Some human emotions are still difficult for them to understand. Catwoman is also very emotional when she hugs Mai. Originally, this girl had nothing to do with her. It doesn't matter whether Bit is alive or dead. Later, Wheat became important because of the Ant King. It even becomes something that Bit wants to protect with his life. At that time, She placed Xiaomei in the position second only to the Ant King in her heart. She protected her as her own child. Today, I saw that Xiaomei not only regained her sight, but her physical fitness was also greatly improved than before. Neferpitou held Xiaomei in his arms and meowed with joy. He also rolled his eyes at Xiaoming, who had forgotten to tell her about this matter before. To be honest, the relationship between Miru M and the three guards is that of a king and his subjects on the surface. It is more like a family at the bottom. Yapufu is like a father, who has plans for the future of the Ant King's children and is very eager to see his son succeed. Once the king does something wrong or deviates from his expectations, he will be very sad. When the Ant King fell in love with Xiaomei, Pufu was very vigilant. He even wanted to get rid of Xiaomei. Neferpitou is like a mother, who patiently protects the spirit and feelings of the Ant King. Even though the Ant King's obsession with Xiaomei seems to be against the kingly way, but she is still willing to protect Xiaomei with her life. This is equivalent to a mother-in-law protecting her daughter-in-law. Yuppie is like a simple big brother. He doesn't think about anything complicated. He has only one goal in life, which is to protect his brother. No matter what the cost. Xiaomei, his sister-in-law, doesn't matter to him. As long as the Ant King likes it, he won't interfere at all. What a loving family. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 764. According to everyone's request, Neferpitou temporarily became the bodyguard of the Insect King Green Xiaoming and joined the Demon World Tour group. This group is already strong enough, with Miru M and Yuppie, and the Insect King's army, and the combat power does not need Catwoman at all. The real reason for asking her to stay is to get together. Xiaoming can understand this. Catwoman herself also has this intention, and this matter is settled naturally. She has been staying in the tour group until the end of this mission, when the Insect King took Bit away from the tour group. Xiaoming was not in a hurry, and the insect humans were also developing slowly. Those subordinates with names and surnames ran out to play. Some of them played crazy and didn't even follow Xiaoming back to the real world. They just stayed in the private world. Anyway, they can't get lost in the private world. The space in Guangmingding is limited, and it is indeed not very comfortable. Xiaoming just let them do it. Even the scientists who followed Xiaoming came out and began to study the flora and fauna of the demon world. At the same time, Queen 001 began to produce land-based Zerg. Since there was no need to worry about safety issues, there were Zerg humans to provide protection. So from the beginning, the Queen gave birth to engineer worms responsible for construction and resource collection. No combat troops were produced. With the hard work of these engineers, the Zerg nest began to develop in a proper manner. Many Zerg buildings also appeared. Mother nest, also known as incubator. It has the function of a queen and can produce eggs of various Zerg. It is the basis for the development of Zerg in ground warfare. All kinds of minerals and food collected by engineer worms must be transported to the mother nest for digestion. Ground spikes, defensive buildings that can actively attack ground enemies. Air defense towers, defensive buildings that can attack air enemies. What is strange is that air defense towers can actually detect invisible creatures. Before exploding troops, it is more important to do a good job of defense. In addition, all the buildings of the Zerg are actually alive. They just gave up the mobile function. There are not only Zerg defense buildings here, but also various props from Plants vs Zombies that Xiaoming exchanged. Some are mushrooms and plants grown on zombies, and some plants and mushrooms are simply planted on the ground. Become a fixed attack point. Combined with the Zerg defense buildings, they can complement each other. Of course, the most important thing is that the props are too cheap. In addition, Xiaoming and his subordinates are already accustomed to modern high-tech life, and the Zerg humans also follow Xiaoming in this regard. So the style of the Zerg nest built by Xiaoming is very strange, which is a mix of human high-tech buildings and Zerg buildings. Speaking of which, in the Chu galaxy, the nest built by Xiaoming also has this trend, but it is not as obvious as this corner of the demon realm. After all, there are more Zerg in the Chu galaxy, and the architectural style is also dominated by Zerg. Here in the demon realm, Zerg humans occupy the majority. It is natural that the style will become like this. In short, green Xiaoming and yellow Xiaoming's life in the demon world can be described as calm, plain and warm. The one who really caused some waves was Silver Xiaoming, who was wandering in the human world. Xiaoming, who came to the human world, found that this was another Pangu star, Earth. But it was in Japan. There were some low-level monsters and ghosts making trouble in the human world, and humans also had a large number of psychics to fight against them. Compared with the huge number of humans, the scale of the confrontation between these monsters and humans was very small. The entire human world was still a harmonious atmosphere dominated by the human race. Xiaoming's development focus was in the demon world, but considering the origin of this world, the human world must also be a major component of this world, and Xiaoming needed to learn more. At this time, the most important thing to do was to scan the map and gain insight into the world. However, since this is already a private world and there is no escape, Xiaoming is not in a hurry. If you know everything, you will inevitably lose a lot of fun in exploration. Scanning the map of the demon world plane is a serious matter. It is related to the development of the Chimera ants or the Zerg in the demon world. You have to do a scan first. This is not necessary in the human world. Slowly exploring is also fun. Xiaoming walks around in the island of Dongying, and generally does not interfere in worldly affairs. Even if he occasionally sees monsters eating people, he doesn't bother to care, unless the victim is a very kind person. Unfortunately, there are not many truly kind people in modern society. And in most cases, those who bully good people are not monsters, but other humans. As a result, Xiaoming did not save good people from monsters, but instead saved some good people from many humans. Such a reality is really ironic. Humans regard monsters as floods and beasts, but they don't know that the main force that really hurts humans is humans themselves. On this day, Xiaoming, who was strolling around, saw a strange scene. 3 low-level monsters and 1 human were confronting each other. The 3 monsters were a dwarf, a muscular man, and the last one was so handsome that it was hard to tell whether he was a man or a woman. They were all only D level, or barely C level. The human was even worse, and it seemed that he was not even D level. I don't know where he got the courage to confront 3 monsters stronger than him. Could it be that he doesn't even have the ability to sense the strength of his opponent? Xiaoming didn't have any interest in meddling in other people's business. However, he actually knew one of the 3 monsters. This attracted Xiaoming's attention. I still remember that when Xiaoming first came to this world, he was in a passage between the demon world and the human world. At that time, there was a short but handsome monster, whose biggest feature was that he had a third eye on his head, just like Erlang Shenyang Jian. So Xiaoming had some memories of him. He was the dwarf among the 3 monsters. It was fate that he saw them again at this time, so Xiaoming stopped to see what they were doing. The whole thing was not complicated at all. You can understand it after listening to a few words of dialogue. The general situation was that the 3 monsters stole 3 treasures from the spirit world, 1 for each monster. They ran to the human world and seemed to want to do something. The human was a newly appointed detective in the spirit world, who came specifically to retrieve the 3 treasures and also to arrest the 3 monsters. This is obviously the work of the police. Why do they need to hand it over to the detective? This weakest human actually wanted to fight 3 people alone, which seemed to be quite ridiculous. None of the 3 monsters were afraid. 2 of them thought it was boring and seemed to want to leave. 3 treasures, spirit world detective, these terms seem to be worth exploring, Xiaoming arrested the people and interrogated them together. So the four guys who were confronting each other suddenly found that a pair of blood-red eyes with patterns suddenly flashed in front of them, and then the scenery around the body changed instantly. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 765. They were just four rookies of around D level. Xiaoming unceremoniously sent out 4 Seven Shadows clones and used Tsukuyomi to treat them directly. This is the human world, and the level of human technology is not bad at all. If they fight, they might be discovered. So Xiaoming chose to use the most silent method. Degree, who would have thought? 3 of these 4 are the protagonists of the original work Yu Yu Hakusho. Xiaoming almost capsized. Don't look at their current strength, especially after the Yu Yu world became Xiaoming's private world, their protagonist halo no longer exists. However, the potential as a protagonist will not disappear. Xiaoming rashly used Tsukuyomi on such a character, which was indeed a bit hasty. The dwarf Fei Ying and the beautiful boy Kurama were once A-level big monsters, and because of something that happened, they fell to where they are today. Although their demon power has decreased now, their original strong mental power has not been erased. Although none of them can compare to Xiaoming's mental strength, they can still protect themselves. That human, Urameshi Yuzuki, is even more amazing. At this time, everyone still doesn't know that Yuzuki has a demon father who is a big devil. He is a top existence in the S level. At present, Yuzuki's bloodline power has not awakened, and his combat power is also very weak. But when faced with a crisis like Tsukuyomi, that power will take the initiative to show its power. Xiaoming's Tsukuyomi world can't contain Urameshi Yuzuki at all. The powerful deterrent force violently impacted Xiaoming's spirit. At that moment, Xiaoming hurriedly threw Urameshi out. Even so, Xiaoming's spirit was still damaged to a certain extent. If it weren't for the triple source energy to repair it, this kind of mental damage would take a long time to recover. People, don't get carried away. Xiaoming was a little careless in handling things because of his greatly improved strength. It's only been a few days, and he was backlashed. It was also because of this mental shock that Xiaoming was unable to control Hai and Kurama, and the 2 monsters were thrown out of the Tsukuyomi world at the same time. As a result, among the 4 people, the only one who was really dealt with by Tsukuyomi was the muscular monster, Guki. After he came out, he had a mental breakdown and died. From him, Xiaoming learned the whole story of the incident, including the names of the other 2 monsters, Hai and Kurama. Xiaoming was forced to release Yuzuki, Hai and Kurama, but the 3 of them didn't know the inside story. They just thought that Xiaoming was too disdainful to deal with them and showed mercy. Probably only Kurama, who had a super IQ, could feel that something was wrong, but he didn't say anything. After being dealt with by Xiaoming, and seeing Guki's tears, snot, and saliva flowing, his body limp on the ground, the 3 protagonists were shocked. The world of monsters respects force. Facing masters with such a huge difference in strength, Hai and Kurama stood obediently and didn't dare to move. If you piss off a higher level monster, you will die. In their opinion, the ability of Tsukuyomi can only be the ability of S-level monsters in the demon world. Although I don't know how this S-level monster came to the human world through the barrier. But now that he is here, the 2 D-level guys can only obey him. Don't think about running away. There is no way to escape from such a big monster. Now I can only hope that he doesn't bother to care about me. Tsukuyomi is the ability of Uchiha Itachi in the Naruto world. Although Itachi is only an A-level master, the ability of Tsukuyomi is something that even S-level opponents have to be cautious about. Quite a bug. It is reasonable that Fei Ying and Kurama will have misunderstandings. A Qiying clone with the face of Li Xiaoao walked forward, turned out the hungry ghost ball from the half-dead Guki, and released all the souls inside. At this time, Yuzuki remembered his mission. He quickly said, "Brother, which side are you on? The spirit world? Or the monsters? I'm a detective from the spirit world. That ball is from the spirit world. Please return the treasure to me. This stubborn guy is really amazing." After being shocked by Xiao Ming's mental power, he dared to ask for something. This courage alone is better than the two monsters. Of course, Yuzuk was just a fool at this time. Xiao Ming was indeed afraid of him, but he would not really let him do whatever he wanted. After thinking about it, Xiao Ming kicked Gangi's body and kicked it towards Urameshi Yuzuk. "Take this monster back first. Your strength is too weak, and the treasure can't be kept in your hands. Go back and ask your boss to ask me for it. I'll wait for him here." Yuzuk hugged a monster body that was several times bigger than himself and nodded. After saying a few polite words, he dragged Gangi away. Just now, Yuzuk was scared by Xiaoming in the world of Tsukuyomi. At this time, he didn't dare to start a fight. Instead, he obeyed obediently. This is also rare. As Yuzuk walked away, Zhao Linger's clone and Linyuru's clone walked to Kurama and Feiying respectively, spreading their right hands to signal. Feiying was stunned, and then he understood, and put a sword in Zhao Linger's hand, and Linyuru received a mirror. These two treasures are the demon sword and the dark mirror. The situation is stronger than people. Although both monsters have reasons to use treasures, they dare not disobey the weirdos in front of them. Just when Feiying was still hesitating whether to leave, Kurama suddenly knelt in front of Linyuru's clone. If the former A-level monster was not desperate, even if he died, he would never do such a shameful thing. Zhang Ma told Linyuru why he wanted the dark mirror. His story was a bit melodramatic, but it was also a bit touching. Zhang Ma used to be a fox demon. He was injured 15 years ago and escaped to the human world in a spirit state. He was reincarnated into an ordinary family and was born as a baby. He was supposed to leave after recovering from his injuries, but he was moved by the affection of his human mother and never left. Now his mother is terminally ill and doesn't have much time left. Zhang Ma tried every way to treat her, but in the end he had no choice but to go to the spirit world to steal the treasure. The dark mirror is a treasure that can fulfill a wish on the day of the full moon. He plans to use the dark mirror to treat his mother's illness. In order to reassure Xiao Ming's side, Zhang Ma also told the rules of using the dark mirror. The person who makes a wish must pay with his life as the price of fulfilling his wish. That is, after fulfilling his wish, he will die, and the mirror will still belong to Xiao Ming. This is simply an alternative constraint and oath. It is indeed a powerful treasure if used well. Xiao Ming could see that what Kurama said was sincere. He was really willing to sacrifice his life in exchange for the health of an ordinary human. It was so touching. As a monster, it would not be a problem for Kurama to live for hundreds or thousands of years, while her mother would only live for a few decades at most. Kurama lost a lot in this deal. If it wasn't true love, it would be unlikely to make such a choice. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 766. It's a pity that a hairless phoenix is really not as good as a chicken. If Kurama was in its heyday, it would be difficult for an ordinary human being to suffer from his illness. Even if you can't cure it yourself, you can still find a monster who can cure it. The face of an A-level monster is still valuable. Unfortunately, it has only been restored for a short period of 15 years, and its strength has only reached D level. There was no way to deal with her mother's terminal illness, so she had to adopt this life-for-life method. It's okay if you don't know about this kind of thing. How could Xiaoming not care about it when you see it in front of you? To treat Kurama's human mother, you don't need something as advanced as the dark mirror. Xiaoming has many ideas. So Linuru followed Kurama to the hospital in person. After checking his mother's condition, the Insect King used earthly resentment to replace several of her diseased organs, easily saving her life. This result was also within Kurama's expectation. Before, Li Xiaoao's clone released the souls swallowed by the hungry ghost ball. Kurama judged that the character of this group of people should be okay. That's why I choose to treat each other with sincerity and touch the other person with the truth. Otherwise he will choose another way. It should be noted that fox demons are actually the best at deceiving people. It is not difficult to borrow a treasure by cheating them. Now, Xiaoming has become his benefactor, and Kurama immediately expressed his loyalty to Xiaoming from now on. This move of his can be described as killing 3 birds with 1 stone. First, repay the favor. In Kurama's opinion, saving his mother's life was a greater kindness than saving his life. Life-saving grace must be repaid. Second, the positions are the same. The other party believed his words so easily, which made Kurama feel that these people were good people, but also seemed a bit innocent. He didn't know that Xiaoming had a unique ability to distinguish authenticity, and thought they were not vigilant enough. So Kurama decided to help them well to avoid being deceived and used in the future. Third, find a protective umbrella. The strength shown by Xiaoming is already very strong, even the A-level Kurama was probably slightly inferior. Kurama is still relatively weak now. If he can't protect himself, he will be discovered by the spirit world, and the pursuers will arrive in the blink of an eye. Back then, he was all-powerful in the demon world, so he naturally attracted many enemies. There are also many powerful monsters among them. If they chased her to the human world, not only would she not be safe, but her parents might also be harmed. So it is also necessary to find a strong protective umbrella. At least until he regains a certain strength, he will definitely need it. As long as Xiaoming doesn't abandon him or do anything that goes against his morality, he is willing to remain loyal to Xiaoming even if he regains his strength. Kurama is such a monster. Kurama's treatment made another yokai Hai also be tempted. It's just that I'm a little embarrassed in terms of face. After Kurama left, he took the initiative to tell Zhao Linger his wish. Although he was very fierce before, he kept saying that he would use the demon sword to turn humans into monsters and then do evil. In fact, it was just a pretense in front of other monsters and a few words to show off. His real purpose is to find his sister and his mother's relics. Who has time to take care of the shitty things in the world? Of course, he is actually an A-level big monster, but for this purpose, he specially asks someone to transplant the evil eye on him. I want to use the evil eye's ability to find it. However, the side effect of the transplant operation is that the demon power completely returns to 0, and Fei Ying needs to practice again. He still had the surgery without hesitation. The purpose of stealing the demon-conquering sword this time is also very simple. It is too difficult for a demon to find people and find things on his own. It is like looking for a needle in a haystack. You can use the demon-suppressing sword to create a large number of monsters that obey your orders, making it easier to find anything. From here we can also see the difference between Hai and Kurama. In order to achieve his goal, Fei Ying will do whatever it takes. It doesn't matter to him how many humans he harms. After Kurama obtained the Dark Mirror, he didn't actually need to make a wish on his own. With the ability of the Fox Demon, it is not easy to deceive, bribe, intimidate, and induce several humans to become their scapegoats. However, Kurama was still willing to give his life. I don't want to hurt innocent people. His character is truly trustworthy. Xiaoming's shadow clone attacked, and Fei Ying, who lost the demon-conquering sword, was a little hesitant. On the one hand, powerful helpers are right in front of you. It will probably solve his problem. On the other hand, he doesn't want to work for anyone else. There must be other ways to solve your problems. To ask for help or not to ask for help, that is the question. After thinking for a long time, Fei Ying lowered his proud head. Ask Zhao Linger's clone for help. As long as it can help him, Fei Ying is willing to owe a few favors for it. Unlike Kurama, he will not be completely loyal to Xiaoming, nor will he kneel down for this matter. Hai's request for missing persons was different from Kurama's request for help. It was in a state of limbo. It didn't matter whether he wanted to help or not. Many friends, many paths, few enemies, few walls. Since this is my own private world, I will definitely run it for a long time in the future. Xiaoming feels that there is no harm in forming good relationships. A future A-class or even S-class monster. His favor is quite valuable. Xiaoming decided to help him. First, the shadow clone asked Hai about his sister's appearance and the characteristics of his mother's relics. It turns out that Hai is the child of Yuki Anna. Abandoned since he was a child, he quietly returned to the land of the Snow Maiden, the land of glaciers, after acquiring the evil eye. But his mother had already died by then. His sister Suike had also left the Snow Woman clan for a long time. So he didn't know what his sister looked like. The tears of the Snow Woman would condense into beautiful gems, called Ice Tear Stone, which was priceless. The relic that Fei Ying's mother gave him was her mother's Ice Tear Stone. Fei Ying didn't want to lose it in a battle in the demon realm. It's not easy to find this person and this thing. The key is that the demon realm is too big. His sister has hands and feet, so she might run to any plane. Since the Snow Woman looks very similar to humans, it's possible that she ran to the human world. The Ice Tear Stone is a well-known treasure, and it is sought after in both the demon realm and the human realm. It's hard to say where it will end up. The evil eye that Fei Ying transplanted has the ability similar to clairvoyance, which is very helpful in finding people and things. Unfortunately, the demon realm has countless planes, and each plane is extremely vast. Even if you have the evil eye, it's not so easy to find. Anyway, Fei Ying has not found either the person or the object so far. It is inevitable that he is a little discouraged. This is also the reason why he wanted the Dark Mirror even though he already had the demon-slaying sword in the original work. Wishing can also be used to find things. What Fei Ying never expected was that the price of making a wish was the life of the wisher. This is too much. Fei Ying doesn't want to die. He can only hope for these weirdos who come to mess things up. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 767. Several clones of the Seven Stars waited there for 3 days. Urameshi Yuzuki never showed up, and no one from the spirit world showed up either. They all stood him up. What is this operation? I don't understand it. Not only Yin Xiaoming was puzzled, but even Fei Ying felt strange. Didn't the spirit world say that these 3 treasures are very important? Why is there no movement? It's ridiculous to have sent a weak spirit world detective before. If you have to explain it, you can also say that the spirit world is short of manpower and forced to do something. But now there is no need to fight. Xiaoming also clearly expressed his willingness to return the treasures, as long as a decent person takes over. As a result, the spirit world was silent, and no one came. Could it be that they couldn't even send a person with a decent identity? I can't understand the reaction of the spirit world, but Xiaoming will definitely not continue to wait foolishly. He is not so idle. Originally, Xiaoming planned to return the treasures directly in exchange for the freedom of Kurama and Fei Ying. After agreeing to Fei Ying's request, Xiaoming planned to outsource this job to the spirit world. They should be better at finding people and things than himself. After all, they are local snakes. After hearing this idea, Fei Ying also agreed with Xiaoming's idea and waited with him. As a result, the spirit world seemed to want to slap Xiaoming in the face, and no one came. They didn't want the treasures either. Fei Ying looked at the 7 stars shadow clones with a strange look. Helplessly, Yin Xiaoming created nearly 100 shadow clones and sent them to various places in the human world, relying on the human sea tactics to search. If they encounter a passage to the demon world, these shadow clones will also go to the demon world to search. Seeing so many guys who are stronger than the current one, all going to help him do things, the arrogant Fei Ying was finally satisfied, and took the initiative to act as Yin Xiaoming's tour guide and guard with the returned Karama. At this time, Yin Xiaoming felt that there were some things he could tell them. It was learned that the hundreds of people were all clones. Even the person in front of him was not all of Xiaoming. The two big monsters who had seen a lot were a little confused. This ability and strength are really amazing. Fei Ying has more confidence in finding his sister and the lost treasure. Of course, this is a long-term job. In the few days left, Xiaoming has not made any progress. Until the mission time is about to end and Xiaoming is about to leave the Yuya world, he suddenly feels a whim. Huang Xiaoming in the insect nest of the demon world, his eyes swept over the various objects in Guangmingding and Kunlun, and finally focused on the three treasures in the spirit world. Intuition tells Xiaoming that he was wrong at the beginning. These three things are definitely not ordinary products, and they are not just the simple functions that seem on the surface. Although absorbing souls, turning people into monsters, and fulfilling wishes are already very good abilities. But it is not enough for Xiaoming. After being taken by Xiaoming, these treasures have been covered in dust in Guangmingding, and Xiaoming has never used them. Maybe the ability to make wishes can be useful, but the price is too high, so Xiaoming doesn't dare to use it. Never expected that these three treasures could make Xiaoming feel inspired. This is a bit interesting. The three Xiaomings took turns playing with the three treasures for a long time, but there was no reaction. Rubbing, kicking, biting, licking, nothing worked. Then they tried all kinds of supernatural energy, but they didn't recognize it. Xiaoming finally understood that they were longing for source energy. But he didn't know whether to use one source energy to test it, or should he use all three sources of energy at the same time. Finally, Xiaoming gathered three bodies together, each holding a treasure, each activating a source of energy, and the three Xiaomings came together. Sure enough, after the three treasures came into contact with the source energy, they immediately began to absorb it. And they absorbed it in big mouthfuls, just like a whale sucking water. That appetite surprised Xiaoming a little. From Xiaoming's current perspective, there are not many things that can directly absorb source energy. Fortunately, Xiaoming had three energy trees, which provided energy to the three treasures. The dark mirror, the demon sword, and the hungry ghost ball left his hands, flew into the air, and gathered together. The lights of various colors flickered for a long time before gradually dissipating. Looking at the sky again, the three treasures of the spiritual world had disappeared. Instead, there was a blurry ball of light. Before Xiaoming could see the color and appearance of the light ball, it fell on Xiaoming like a meteor. What kind of operation is this? The three Xiaomings quickly checked themselves. Soon, they found a trace of the light ball in the depths of their souls. When Xiaoming felt that the light ball came to the depths of his soul, he was quite excited. Those who can come here are not simple characters. In addition to the energy source, there are also magical existences such as Lu Shu and Jun Jun. Could this be another kind of nine-tailed fox? Even more powerful, is it a new energy seed? With an uneasy mood, Xiaoming also immersed himself in the depths of his soul. What appeared here was a sword suspended in the air. This sword made Xiaoming feel very, very familiar. When had he seen it before? OMG! This is Xiaoming's sword of judgment. A kind of mind ability that he had specially cultivated before. It is specially used to punish those bad people who have been doing evil for a long time. They don't have to wait until they go to the underworld, but receive retribution and punishment in the world. In order to make this sword work, Xiaoming even set up very strict restrictions. He has to use the sword to pierce himself once a day. While increasing the power, it also prevents oneself from learning bad things. If Xiaoming does too many bad things, he will be punished. I never thought that the three originally inconspicuous spiritual treasures could absorb Xiaoming's source energy. After merging, they directly entered the depths of Xiaoming's soul. Combined with the Sword of Judgment, a telekinesis ability, it was combined into a special soul treasure - sword of rewarding good and punishing evil. From now on, it will no longer occupy the position of Xiaoming's telekinesis ability, allowing Xiaoming to have a lot more potential and skill points in telekinesis. As a soul treasure, the Sword of Rewarding Good and Punishing Evil, its ability was clear to Xiaoming at the moment it was formed. It is a one-to-one ability that needs to be driven by source energy. First, Xiaoming needs to select a target for rewarding good and punishing evil. In the second step, the opponent's soul will be extracted by the Sword of Rewarding Good and Punishing Evil, and the opponent's good and evil will be seen through. The third step is to execute rewarding good and punishing evil. The limitation is that after each person is rewarded or punished once, the degree of good and evil will automatically return to zero. Whether to reward or punish next time depends on the new performance of this person. The standard of good and evil is still based on Xiaoming's intention. Doing good or bad things on impulse will not be rewarded or punished. Only long-term good deeds or bad deeds will trigger the retribution effect. Among them, the body of the good people will be healthier and their lifespan will be appropriately extended. No money for bad reviews. The punishment method for the evil people is the same as the original Sword of Judgment. Let the other party feel the same pain every night. The Sword of Rewarding Good and Punishing Evil has taken root in the depths of Xiaoming's soul. There will be no more harm to himself. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 768. Although the rewarding good and punishing evil sword will not harm itself, it does not mean that Xiaoming can let go of himself and do whatever he wants. He can actually feel it clearly. Once one day his character can no longer hold up and his virtue is not worthy of his position, this treasure will automatically disappear. It is hard to say what specific requirements this treasure has for Xiaoming, probably just fairness and justice. There is no need to make it public. It should be noted that the rewarding good and punishing evil sword will extract the opponent's soul to judge. If you think about it carefully, the function of this treasure is somewhat related to the original three treasures. Extracting souls is the ability of the Hungry Ghost Ball. Judging the good and evil of souls, I wonder if it is a hidden skill of the Hungry Ghost Ball. Rewarding good involves the wish-making ability of the Dark Mirror. It's just that the wish is fixed. It is to give good people a healthier body and a longer life. The relationship between punishing evil and the demon-subduing sword is far-fetched. In the past, the demon-subduing sword could turn humans into monsters and control them. Now the sword of rewarding good and punishing evil uses a specific method to punish evil people. The punishment method is inherited from Xiaoming's own ability. Xiaoming doesn't know whether these three treasures can be combined originally or they have undergone such a strange change because of the input of source energy by Xiaoming. Since it has become like this, Xiaoming can only take it as it comes. Intuition quietly tells Xiaoming that this is a good thing. In the past few days, Xiaoming often chats with Karama and Feiying, and has talked about some common sense about the spirit world, the demon world, and the human world. For example, after a person dies, the soul will go to the spirit world, and the spirit world will arrange rewards and punishments and reincarnation. Isn't it very similar to the underworld in Chinese legends? In addition, the spirit world is responsible for protecting the human world, which seems to be the function of the legendary heaven. The spirit world is probably a combination of heaven and hell. However, in terms of strength, the spirit world is more miserable. It can only deal with A-level monsters. S-level monsters that exceed A-level are characters that the spirit world cannot deal with at all. S-class is just a rough classification of monsters in the spirit world, and there are many different levels within it. The level of the Ant King Miru M is just a rookie in the S-class. According to legend, there are 3 extremely powerful monsters standing at the top of the S-class monsters: Ku, Yomi, and Raisin. Their strength has exceeded the imagination of most monsters. If it weren't for Kurama and Hai who were once A-class monsters, it is estimated that the names of these 3 have never been heard. Because of the 3 masters forming a tripartite situation, the demon world can maintain a relative balance. It turns out that the demon world also has a tripartite situation. After learning this news, Lu Xiaoming immediately told Miru M. Let him be mentally prepared. After all, it was Xiaoming who brought the Chimera Ant clan here. Such important news, of course, must be shared. Hearing that there are many strong people in this world who surpass him, the Ant King is not worried but happy. This is a world worth challenging, and he is so lucky. As happy as him is Yuppie. Yuppie is also the type who likes to fight strong people. Zhang Zhong and Catwoman, Xiaoming's subordinates, were indifferent to the news. They were neither warlike nor too lazy to worry about anything. Only Xiao Yapufo had a worried expression on his face. He didn't like the feeling of being crushed by others. The development strategy of the Chimera ants needs to be adjusted appropriately. In theory, the development strategy of the insect humans should also be adjusted accordingly. But in fact, there is no real impact. The demon realm is too big, and there are countless planes. At the development speed of the 2 tribes, it is estimated that it will take hundreds or thousands of years to meet these 3 top monsters. By then, his own strength should be able to cope with it, right? Xiaoming now doesn't know that the 3-legged situation is in danger and is about to collapse, and the demon realm may fall into chaos at any time. How to deal with it at that time depends on his ability. When the mission time is up, the 3 Xiaomings return to the water curtain cave in Huiguo Mountain at the same time, which is where they left last time using the random world invitation. The situation is still the same, and only 0.1 seconds have passed in the water curtain cave. At this time, Kraken and Zhaozhous, who were both on the seabed outside Huiguo Mountain, and they were building a nest for themselves. While they were not here, Xiaoming just happened to talk to his sister and brother Wen about the private world. Xiao Jing'er and Zhang Wen showed great interest in such a fun thing. The 3 of them discussed it and began to conduct various tests on the private world. They figured out some basic rules. First of all, in the reincarnation space, Xiaoming could not enter the private world. Huiguo Mountain was not allowed, and the team space was not allowed. Whether it can be opened in the mission world needs to be tried later. But it is estimated that 80% of it will not work. Then several people returned to the real world together. According to the method discussed before, Xiaoming first tested it alone. In the real world, Xiaoming can enter and exit the private world at will. The flow rate of time in Yu Yu Hakusho is consistent with that in the real world. Entering and exiting the private world is also very convenient. It seems that every Xiaoming carries a space door with him, and he can enter and exit with a step. Xiaoming can even go hand in hand. Arrange 1 or 2 bodies to enter the private world, and leave 1 or 2 bodies in reality. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, it's obviously safer to spread them out like this. There are so many masters in the real world, and they are all crowded on a small Pangu star. Xiaoming is guilty of holding a treasure, and it is inevitable that he will face certain dangers. Now, as long as we conquer an area in the demon world, this place can become the safest haven for Xiaoming and his family. Once they hide inside, even if the world ends in reality, Xiaoming and his family will not be harmed. From the perspective of strength, it will not be difficult for Xiaoming to conquer 1 or 2 planes. After all, in the world of Yu Yu Hakusho, the distribution density of masters is relatively low. The world is also wider. There is enough space for everyone to dominate one side. Xiaoming first arranged his Zerg subordinates in the Chu galaxy to divide a part of the troops to march into the private world. That is the demon world plane where Huang Xiaoming established his base. But now the one in charge here is the Zerg King Green Xiaoming. He is doing the most important thing, which is to release the Zerg fog in the base. This is the magic weapon of the Zerg that is invincible. And only the Zerg King can release it. The area covered by the Zerg fog is equivalent to being ruled by the Zerg. Unfortunately, the Zerg in the Chu galaxy are basically space soldiers. Xiaoming can only bring some of them to the demon world as air force. The expansion of ground forces still depends on Queen 001 and the already built mother nest to produce eggs. However, with strong air force support so early, the development of the Zerg in this plane will be smooth sailing. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 769. For the development of the Zerg in the Demon Realm, Lu Xiaoming worked hard for a long time. With the Demon Realm, the Zerg under Xiaoming no longer had to fight for living space in the Chu galaxy. This was good, and there was no need to compete with other masters for territory. Alas, Xiaoming, an outsider, had some misunderstandings about the distribution of the Zerg. In his imagination, the territory of each Zerg master was not small, and the distance between them would not be too far. But in fact, the Zerg masters with level 6 mental power controlled limited Zerg, and the territory they occupied was not as large as Xiaoming imagined. The masters above level 7 had other arrangements in the Zerg, and Xiaoming and other level 6 masters had not yet reached that level, and they were still unaware of it. In space, resources were limited, and the distance between two Zerg master nests was actually quite far. There were many small tribes led by queens in the middle. These small tribes would not be too close, and there were many Zerg stragglers and a larger number of space creatures other than Zerg scattered in the middle. Xiaoming could have expanded his territory without being so shabby. However, his nerdy personality still prevented him from being wild compared to other Zerg overlords. In fact, Xiaoming has a greater advantage, because he has 3 bodies and 3 times the mental power. He can control more Zerg. Although Xiaoming was shabby in developing his territory, he worked harder in recruiting Zerg soldiers. He sent more Zerg subordinates and shadow clones riding flying dragons in all directions. He tried to recruit as many Zerg as possible. Don't worry, no matter how many he recruited, it is estimated that he would not be able to fill the big hole in the demon realm. The Zerg King himself needs to create Zerg fog, and basically stays in the demon realm all the time, and occasionally returns to the Chu galaxy to show his presence. Xiao Xiao likes the environment of the demon realm very much, and with Lu Xiaoming around, he stays in the demon realm for a long time to play. The concentration of spiritual energy in the demon realm is not low, and the space is countless times wider than Guangmingding. As a branch of the Dragon clan, it is normal for Xiao Xiao to prefer the environment of the demon realm. But this caused dissatisfaction for Maomoer, who was obsessed with his brother. As Xiaoxiaoer's brother, he would go crazy if he couldn't see Xiao Xiao for a while. But now, Maomoer needs to serve as a game server for Xiaoming's subordinates. In the past, there were few players, and Xiao Shenan could take shifts, so Mao Mao could accept it. Now, Xiaoming has vigorously developed in the private world, and a large number of insect humans have been born. Most of these insect humans also like to play games. The burden on the 2 servers of Maomoer and Xiao Shenan has increased several times. For the time being, they need to work together to be enough, and shifts are impossible. Now Maomoer is really furious, and he is just about to cry, make a fuss, and hang himself. After all, Xiao Xiao is well behaved and promised his brother that he would come back to accompany him often, which temporarily calmed Maomoer's emotions. But Xiaoxiao's promise cannot be trusted. He is not lying, but he is still young and too playful. If he plays too much in the demon world, he will definitely forget to go home. By then, Maomoer will be happy again. So Xiaoming had to send a few more shadow clones to follow Xiaoxiaoer and remind him to go home often. However, this will definitely not work in the long run. Xiaoming must get a special game console as soon as possible. Free Maomoer and Xiaosheneng. During this period, Green Xiaoming discovered two interesting things. One is a new way to increase the number of insect humans. Before, Xiaoming had two ways to cultivate insect humans. One is to be born by oneself. That is, Green Xiaoming personally lays eggs and hatches insect humans. They have the strongest plasticity, master a lot of supernatural energy, and have good strength. Xiaoming's personal guards are all born by themselves. The other is transformation. Xiaoming can use the ability of insect evolution needle to transform individuals of other races into insect humans. Xiaoming transformed at least hundreds of Zerg into insect humans in the Chu galaxy. But the strength of this type of insect humans is relatively lacking. It will not be counted in the number of insect humans. After this trip to the hunter world, a new species has emerged. Let's call it adopted insect human. It is to transform at the stage of insect eggs. The eggs are laid by others, but adopted by Xiaoming. First, the insect eggs are subdued by the Zerg, and then the embryos inside are transformed with the Zerg evolution needle. After hatching, they are new insect humans. This type of insect human transformation is more thorough, and is generally not much different from the biological insect humans. They will also be counted in the number. In this way, Green Xiaoming finally got liberation. It was too hard to lay eggs by himself. The main thing is that Xiaoming needs to spit out the eggs one by one. It doesn't matter physically, but it's really uncomfortable psychologically. It's not so uncomfortable to transform other people's eggs. Of course, this requires a higher level of insect eggs, and not all eggs can be transformed. At present, there are only two types that meet the conditions, one is the Chimera ant egg, and the other is the Zerg egg. With this new method, as the Zerg grows and develops in the demon world, the number of insect humans is also rapidly expanding. The second fun thing is also related to the Zerg. It's a matter of the soul. According to Xiaoming's observation, only 60% of the Zerg have souls. The other 40% have only instincts, and they are pure killing machines. Xiaoming can give them spiritual enlightenment, but the souls inspired by it may not obey. What's more terrifying is that if a soul of a time traveler is brought in, what should we do? Travelers are all guys who want the world to be in chaos, so we can't have them. Okay, this is the illusion that online novels give Xiaoming. So Xiaoming thought of his other ability, soul transfer. You can transfer the soul to an empty body. This is the ability that Xiaoming learned from the goddess Eva in the Avatar world. But there is no place to apply it. Xiaoming once imagined that he could transfer the soul of a disabled person to a plant without a soul. Achieving the effect of alternative rebirth, maybe he can also make a few legendary stories. But he has never encountered a suitable opportunity. And it is difficult to predict what impact this kind of rebirth will cause. If something big happens, it may not end well. The appearance of rewarding good and punishing evil sword opened Xiaoming's mind once, and he thought of his 100 ghost box. There happened to be 100 ghosts led by Xiao Hong living there. These ghosts have been refined by the 100 ghost box, and they have good combat effectiveness and obey orders. About half of them have their own souls. Isn't it good to use them for transfer? Yes, ghosts are not necessarily souls, and many of them only have instincts left. If Xiaoming wants to replenish ghosts, he can harvest them in any reincarnation world. The ghosts in the 100 ghosts box are quite powerful, and the bodies of the Zerg are strong enough. They can probably bear the risk of soul transfer. These two things may not be compatible, but Xiaoming still decided to give it a try. If he succeeds, it must be fun. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 770. If a soul originally in a human body is immediately sent to a Zerg body by soul transfer, the success rate is very low. The difference between the new and old bodies is too big. The huge cognitive barrier will hurt the transferred soul. It is also difficult to adapt to the new body. Therefore, the skill of soul transfer is somewhat difficult, and the matching degree between the soul and the new body must be high. Theoretically speaking, the human soul cannot match the Zerg body. But it can be cultivated. 100 Ghost Box is a treasure given by the tree demon grandma to Xiaoming in the world of A Chinese Ghost Story 1. It is used to cultivate ghost soldiers. Xiaoming never thought that the cultivated ghost soldiers are still human souls, but the matching degree with other bodies is quite high. The reasons are nothing more than 2 points. First, the ghost soul is nourished by the yin qi, and its strength is much stronger than that of ordinary human souls. In other words, it can withstand tossing. Second, when the ghost has been a ghost for a long time, the ghost's nostalgia or obsession with the previous human body has decreased. He is not so resistant to giving a Zerg body. In addition, the Zerg's body is thick and tough, and it is really strong. So Xiaoming's sudden brain hole actually has a very good success rate. Most ghost soldiers with souls have obtained a strong Zerg body. The feeling of having a physical body again is quite good. Some ghost soldiers are even willing to toss for this several times. If one body doesn't work, they will change to another one. They will never give up until they get a suitable body. Of course, there are ghosts who don't care about the Zerg's body, and there are also particularly picky ones. There are a few ghost soldiers who don't want non-human bodies. They even have a strong obsession with the gender of the new body. It goes without saying what they are thinking. The Zerg's body, which has no gender at all, really can't satisfy them. Among them is Xiaohong. Her words are very nice. I am willing to help the young master manage the 100 Ghosts box for the rest of my life. When Xiaoming said that he could find her a beautiful body, the desire in her eyes immediately betrayed her heart. She couldn't say no at all. She and Xiaolu can be said to be Xiaoming's earliest followers, and they are also recognized in the reincarnation space. Xiaoming will naturally satisfy her little wish. There is no rush to find a suitable body, you can slowly find one. The strength of the Zerg with the ghost soldier is the key. To be honest, it's just so-so. When the ghost soldier adapts to the body of the Zerg, he loses his original combat effectiveness as a ghost soldier. It is impossible to jump out of the body at any time to work alone. This is equivalent to combining 2 arms into one. Is it an alternative Zerg? The good thing is that after adapting to the new body, the Zerg controlled by the ghost soldier fights very smartly. Much smarter than the general Zerg with soul. This does not show any advantage in large-scale combat. However, in small-scale conflicts or encounters, there is a clear gap. Now the Zerg has just started, there are basically no large-scale battles, but small-scale conflicts occur several times a day. This group of alternative Zergs appeared very timely. And when these Zergs are not fighting, they are even smarter. After all, the body of the Zerg is filled with a human soul. Since then, the Zerg has produced countless artists. Low-level cannon fodder is the most soulless soldier in the Zerg. They lower the proportion of souls in the entire Zerg population. So the ghost soldiers are all low-level Zerg. For example, the springtail, which humans jokingly call puppies. It is small in size, runs on 4 legs, and is extremely fast. It also has 2 sharp forelimbs like giant sickles. It can split a person in half with one blow, and it is not inferior even when facing steel. It is a daunting melee soldier. Can you imagine a Zerg waving these 2 forelimbs and carving a Venus with a broken arm? There are also hydralisks, low-level ranged soldiers of the Zerg. They look a little like Naga, but they don't have so many arms, and their fighting style is completely different. Hydralisks can spray spikes from a long distance and can attack both ground and air. The power is not weak. It's just that the movement speed is slightly slow. With ghost soldiers as souls, the Hydralisks will spray these spikes on the stone wall to paint, and maybe spray out a Qingming Shanghe too. Among the more advanced Zerg troops, the proportion of those with souls is very high. At present, ghost soldiers can only live in Hydralisks or springtails. The Zerg body and ghost soldiers as souls do have a certain effect. The role played by this combination on the battlefield is not as amazing as Xiaoming imagined. Instead, it has blossomed and borne fruit in the strange field of art. Even other Zergs have begun to imitate it. It led to an alternative Renaissance movement among the Zerg under Xiaoming. This is a later story. The expansion of the Zerg in the demon world inevitably leads to wars with some monsters, and animals. After the war, the Death Harvest can not only get some skeleton troops to help in the battle, but also harvest some ghosts to replenish the consumption in the 100 ghosts box. These ghosts need to be upgraded to the ghost soldier level in the 100 ghosts box before Xiaoming will carry out the next wave of soul transfer. For this purpose, Xiaoming even gave up those ghost soldiers without souls, and wanted only those with souls. When harvesting death in the demon world, the ghosts obtained are also of various kinds. They are similar to what they looked like when they were alive. Many of them are in the form of beasts, which are more suitable for transfer into the bodies of Zerg than human souls. Among them, there are 2 or 3 ghosts of Zerglings. Even if Xiaoming is strong, it is impossible to fight unscathed every time. It is normal to sacrifice a few Zerg cannon fodder soldiers occasionally. There is no need for the ghosts of Zerglings to enter the 100 ghosts box. Just while it is hot and stuff it into the body of a soulless Zergling. Xiaoming found it funny to see the confused look of the Zergling. With the IQ of Zerglings, they probably can't understand such high-end things as borrowing corpses to revive. Xiaoming still has to explain it to him in spiritual communication. As the news spread, the reputation of the Zerg king became even louder among the Zerg. Of course, everyone welcomes the boss who can resurrect from the dead. Xiaoming suddenly thought of the clone technology of the new Han Kingdom. If it can be combined with his soul transfer technology, maybe he can really bring the dead back to life. Even immortality and eternal youth are not daydreams. The only difficulty is whether a person's soul is strong enough to withstand such a soul transfer. And this problem is solved by the 100 ghosts box. If the soul is not strong enough, just cultivate it. Dollar, it looks like a business that can make a lot of money. Thinking of this, Xiaoming pulled the corner of his mouth and smiled bitterly.